Good morning, everybody. It's nice to be here for you to give you some impression of the digitalization of pharmaceutical regulation from my point of view as a professor of pharmacy, but also as a chairperson of the Medicines Authority in Malta. And the first question that one may ask, why a digital transformation in the pharma industry, and how does this relate to regulation? We are in the fourth industrial revolution, and more so, we are looking that this revolution is hooking on digitalization in a way that there is a combination of the cyber with the physical systems, what we commonly refer as smart machines, which depend on the modern control systems with embedded software systems. And this could be done through, because everything today will be having an address via what we commonly refer to as the Internet of Things. And so everyone has, and everything will have to dispose of an address to connect. But one last thing, as Dr. Morrison has emphasized, is that during these processes, we cannot ignore the social, which are reflected in the economic, and also the ethical implications. This will all depend on the information and technology system. And again, I have to borrow on what the previous speaker has said. It is that what we learned from the previous industrial revolutions, what we have noticed, not to repeat the same mistakes, is that that excitement with the new fantastic machinery that was being developed placed the people on the sideline. In this Industry 4.0, we have to ensure that the people are in the center and that the infrastructure surrounds to meet the needs of the people. It may look simple, but it's a tall order that is essential as the platform for Industry 4.0 in its work, through the communication, and not least through the education that we owe to the people. Communication is key. Communication is key to develop new ways of production, to create value, to ensure that the creation has value with it, including financial value, and that this is done in real-time optimization. The Internet of Things, which we hear so much about, what does it mean? And this will be seen in the health industry completely, depending on the remote. What it means is that we will be seeing remote monitor, track, and tracing. What we mean by the creation of a smart factory with the contribution of cloud and cognitive computing. How does regulatory come into this? How does regulatory action, which we mention and which some people are so scared of and look as a possible hindrance to the evolvement of digitalization, relate to this digital transformation? If we take just one common example that we are seeing today, and this is the FMD that has been created, the Falsified Medicines Directive, to guarantee medicine authenticity mainly through the manufacture of counterfeit-proof packaging. As this relates to patient care, to provide greater transparency, but it also makes production improvement. If you look at the way this transformation affects clinical trials, today we talk about, and again, Dr. Morrison mentioned the importance of evidence-based clinical trial results. Clinical trials, we refer to them multi-centered, but pretty soon with the new discussed regulations on clinical trials in Europe, the whole of Europe would become one center, and this is possible through proper digitalization. The results, the success of making these huge advancements which will be highly economical in the development of new drugs, in the sustainability of the development, in the accessibility to the results of the clinical trials, will be because one Europe, for example, could become one center. And probably, maybe, the whole world would become one clinical trial center. And that would be a really nice day for all the society. And this is possible through real-time connected value creation networks, through the increase of accessibility to the data available, and also to ensure the authenticity of the results. We'll be seeing through regulation to adjust to the bridging between the physical and the digital world. Should we have more automation? More, which many would assume that it's the right thing to do. Should we regulate the more automation? And more automation, however, should come into action if it satisfies some criteria. Mostly that the information-intensive transformation through automation, the development of big data, has to be an actionable data. It's useless to have all forms and kinds of data if you can't take action. And this can be done through the collaboration between all entities. Regulation will have to start instilling this spirit of collaboration as a requirement for regulatory assessment. And that would be a big step forward if we move through these type of requirements in the new regulatory systems. Digitalization should help to facilitate interaction of suppliers, with wholesalers, to satisfy an increase in the market demand, and more importantly, to sustain real-time production, which would improve the accessibility and the sustainability and the costs of medicines. I would suggest that to test the good influence of digitalization on business, one must test that this digitalization progress is causing an increase in profits, a decrease in cost, but is also enhancing customer experience. It's an innovation to ensure growth, while at the same time sustaining customer loyalty and that the business remains relevant. We will be witnessing a paradigm shift in the pharmaceutical area. The pharmaceutical compound annual growth rate, we will see that in India, in 10 years' time, will raise from the last year's 41 billion to 130 billion in 2030. This will need improved efficiency and will provide new business opportunities. What are the keys, the factors that may influence this? Will we see this improvement in efficiency improve through, for example, having a broadband available everywhere in 10 years' time, by 2030? And more significant to us, will regulators see that the regulation, the advancement in digitalization is also producing better relations with patients and prescribers? We are in a COVID-19 era, we can call it. Let me give you an example from my regulatory perspective, even from the Medicines Authority in Malta, what we have seen. And we tried and used all effort to look at COVID-19 to be a catalyst for digital transformation. For example, one thing we started is remote inspections. We did a number of remote inspections for Indian companies, for example, to keep their GMP and keep the supply of the production and supply of medicines. We witnessed in assessing the vaccines and the products used in COVID through what was up to 2018, less than 4 years ago, considered to be nearly a heresy by saying that we want to do what today we call a rolling review, that we want to open the dossier before it is complete, which is now the reason why we have those vaccines today, because it had to be acceptable to start rolling reviews. We also are being challenged by looking at the different systems in 2 different areas. Should we go for conditional marketing authorization as we did in Europe, or should we go for emergency marketing authorization as is done in the United States? Both have the advantages and disadvantages. Are we able to see one of them must, if we put them in a balance, one of them can't be equal, one of them must be better than the other? Are we capable, through digitalization, to find which is the best system, the system that will provide the best safety, efficacy, quality, and accessibility in time to medicines? And what we have also learned from the COVID part is that we have now an urgency for this digitalization. Something that is cropping up, and which was also pointed out ably by the previous speaker, are we going to have this digitalization a sovereign thing, keeping it different in different countries? And this may perhaps have led to the need for the review of the Directive on Security of Network and Information Systems in Europe, towards a greater international harmonization and a level playing field, hooking on the enforcement and ethics, which should perhaps now be the new human right that we will see in the near future. I propose to have a strategic roadmap to move forward, and that this strategic roadmap should put a paradigm shift in the way we carry out regulation, in the way we put standards, that the movement from order, and more order to disruption should become quicker, provided that that disruption provides an evolution that would keep the resilience in times, say, of a pandemic or in times of strategy, that it will also be inclusive, while not neglecting the green growth and green production. And this should lead to a sustainable global action plan. As far as regulatory competent authorities, one should challenge the authorities and ask them, is digitalization taking place in spite of maybe what may be looked at as stumbling blocks by regulation, or because of the needs of the regulation, I would propose that it should be in this life and age, in partnership with the regulators. And finally, the digital inclusiveness. And I would borrow on Ursula von der Leyen in her State of the Union address that no European should be left behind. And that this digitalization, while taking consideration of all the people, would not neglect the personalized and customized needs of certain products for the individual persons. Thank you very much for your attention. It was a pleasure for me to be with you. And I assure you that in Malta, the Medicines Authority is proactive to ensure that we have a business-friendly, while at the same time we keep in mind that safety, efficacy, and quality of medicines is the priority. Thank you very much.